All right, we finished styling up the nav and the wrapper, and that's what we came up with over here. And now we have to go ahead and add some content. So I downloaded the content files. So there's a sandwich zip that you can download, and after you download it, you unzip it. It turns into sandwich content. Okay, we want to go ahead and let me go ahead and move this down here. Here's my week 5. There's my sandwich flexible. All right, and now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and then paste that into my flexible. Paste. Okay, I'm just copying and pasting it so I have a copy. If I screw this up, I can always go back and get that other one again. And then inside the sandwich content, there's also images folder. I have an images folder already, so I don't need that. But I need to copy all of these. So I'm just going to select all these, copy them. And again, I'm copying them so that if something goes bad, I can always go back to my originals. And go into there, go into images, and then paste it in. And now I have all the files I need. So I have these two in the root directory. Then I have two separate folders, one for sandwich pictures and one for cooks. And I'm ready to go ahead and start styling, doing a little more styles on that. All right. So let's see, what are we going to have to do next? So we want to have it so that each of our sections, our header section, and then about, and sandwich, and crew, and contact, take up the entire size of the viewport. All right, so let's go ahead and start doing that style. All right, so we have, in the order in which they are on the page, we have my body main container. Inside that, we have a nav section, and then we also have a div with the class of wrapper, and now we have some of the other ones. We have header, sandwich, crew, contact. So we're going to go ahead and style that also. So the first thing I'm going to do is the header. So I'm going to say that I have a header. And on that one, we're going to say I want to have a minimum height of 100 VH. Whoops, not 10 VH, 100 VH. That stands for viewport height. Viewport is the size of this inside this, from the whole window here. So that whole height is what we're going to do. We're going to do a minimum height of 100 VH, because if it needs to get bigger, say there's more content in the header, it's not, but in the future it could be that the header, the content is actually 150 VH. It's bigger than that, and we certainly don't want to limit it. So we're going to say, well, when you first render it, just make it the size of the viewport. But if it needs to be bigger, then it can expand. We're not going to minimize it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have overflow auto. And the reason why we do autoflow auto is because we're going to have a float inside that header. And if we do overflow auto, then we don't have to worry about that margin collapse, which is such a pain in the neck with floats. So the overflow auto simply is a way for us to fix or mitigate the damage that floats do because they're removing objects from the DOM. And then we're just going to add a little bit of space around the edges for the children, and that's going to be adding padding. And we're just going to add 15 pixels, and that, if we do 15 pixels like this, that means it's top, bottom, left, and right all have 15 from the edge. All right, so that's nice. All right, and now each of these about the rest of these, about, sandwich, crew, contact, and footer, are all sections. All right, so there are sections with an ID of each one of these, except, well, the footer is actually not a section, it's a footer. So these four, about, sandwich, crew, and contact, we want them to all have the same properties. So we're going to say, okay, underneath the header, we have a bunch of sections, and each of those are going to be, a little bit, each of those are going to also, just like the header, we're going to have a minimum height of 100 VH. So initially, when it's rendered on the page, each of these will take up the entire, and then when we scroll down, it won't look funny because it'll all be going, every time you hit another link, it'll move the page down one whole screen length. And then for each section, though, we're going to have to add some padding to the top. Whoops. Because we're going to have that navigation section. This nav up here is actually going to keep moving down the page as we navigate, because we don't want to have to make the person scroll all the way to the top of the page. So we're going to have to make space for it, and we're going to do the same height that the nav is, which is 80 pixels. So that's going to leave a space there so that this nav can fit into each one of the sections. And then we're also going to move things away from the left side. So we'll do padding left, and let's make that 10 pixels. Alright, so we don't want everything right on the wall. Alright, let's go ahead and see what we've done. And let's do File, Save All, and then we'll come back here and refresh. Boom. You can see now everything's disappeared. This right here is that header. So if we click on Home, it stays there. Then we have the About section, and there's the About section. You can see this is the 80 pixels that we are saving for the navigation when it slides down. Of course, it's not sliding down now. And then there's Sandwich, and we got to the sandwich part of that. Wait a minute. Okay, that didn't work. Crew, and then Contact. Alright, so everything's working except Sandwich. That's not working. It's not moving down. So we got to check a look at our HTML and see what's going on here. And if we come down here, we'll see that section with an ID of sandwiches. What did we call it up here? We called it sandwich, not sandwiches. I like sandwich better, so I'm going to leave off the ES here. So this ID has to match whatever we're going to be using as that hyperlink. So if we're saying hash sandwich, it's got to find an ID of sandwich, and I put sandwiches by mistake. So now let's File and Save All, and then refresh. And now when I click on sandwiches, bam, down to the sandwich section with our 80 pixel for the navigation. Very nice. Alright, so let's see, let's go back to the top. Okay, now I want to go ahead and take our wrapper and give that 80 pixels also to keep space for the nav. So where's my wrapper? Right here. Whoops. Dang it. Okay, okay, here's my wrapper. The thing won't move over. Alright, so what I want to do here is I want to do margin top, and I want to make an 80 pixel margin top, which is the same size as a nav. And that's because what we're going to do is we're going to take that nav and we're going to have it fixed to the top of the screen. It's going to remove it from the DOM so that the div wrapper will move up underneath it and everything won't look right. So we're going to give that 80 pixels so that this stays exactly where it is. Okay, and let's see. So let's go ahead and do that to the nav. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and comment this out because I got ahead of myself. Okay, well, maybe that didn't happen. And now we're going to go up to the nav and we're going to float it. And not floating it, we're going to fix it. So it's always at the top of the browser window. And we're going to do that by saying position fixed. Then we got to tell it where it needs to be fixed, and we'll say to the top of the browser window, and we'll just say 0 pixels. So if we did 10 pixels, it'd move it down 10 pixels from the top. We say 0, we want this thing right up to the top. So I'm going to do File, Save All, and then refresh. Boom, and you can see that this is all moved up, not right. This is not what we wanted. So we're going to go ahead and move this wrapper down 80 so it's where it was before. So let's go ahead and do that first so we can see how that's fixed. So wrapper, I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this by selecting it and then doing Control/, and then I'm going to do File, Save All, and then when I go back here and refresh it again, we can see now everything's moved out correctly. Now the problem's going to be when it moves down. You saw how that blue was here? That's going to happen when we move down. Let's go ahead and move down and see. So there's the sandwich section. See, so that's not right. We don't want it to do that. The reason for that is that this nav is now ending right here. This dark blue is the body. Remember the dark blue? But we don't see the body when we go down here, and that's why that blue shows up there. So we need to make the nav bigger because it shrunk because of the fix. Before it was 100% of the container, which was the body, but now it's not in the body. It's actually floating around, so it no longer has that 100%. So we're going to go ahead and fix that too. All right, and that's going to be in the nav section. Where's nav? Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to give it a width of 100%. Now it's going to be 100% of the width of the container, which is the browser window. It's not even the body anymore. Okay, let's do File and Save All. And then refresh. Okay, we see nothing changing here, but we should see it when we move down. And sure enough, there. So you can see now everything's lining up a lot nicer. And we had to do that through our CSS. Okay, so everything is looking much better now. All right, so the end of that lesson had you downloading and installing the stuff, and you can see now everything is downloaded and installed, so that's the end of this video.